Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your weekly astrology forecast for the week of October 20th to the 26th of 2024. Before we jump into the chart here, of course, if you are looking for a reading with me, you can head on over to my Etsy shop. The link is in the description below if you're on YouTube, or in my bio if you're on TikTok. If you are looking to support me on my Ko-Fi, it's similar to Patreon with memberships and all. Memberships start at $1 a month. You can head on over there. Link is in the description, again in my bio if you're on TikTok. I also do have a Discord server as well that I've set up a long time ago. I've just never really promoted it. So if anybody wants to join, come on in, talk, create a community, do all that fun stuff, then link is in the description if you're on YouTube, and it is in my bio on TikTok, but you have to go through my link tree to get it, because that's probably the easiest way to do that. If it's not there yet after I record this video, you can feel free to leave a comment and I'll put it in there for you. All right, with all that being said, and don't forget, one of the best ways you can help me out is, of course, hitting that like button, comment, subscribing if you're on YouTube, hitting that follow button if you're on TikTok, and that helps the algorithm to, of course, do its algorithm thing. All right, with all that said now, let's get into the charts for this week. All right, so we're going to start here on Sunday, October 20th. We've got a few things going on here. So we're going to have the Sun in quincunx to Neptune, also in sesqui-square to Saturn, and Mars quintile the South Node. So we can start off here, the Sun here in Libra in quincunx to Neptune in Pisces. So that quincunx can lead to an aspect of like frustration or something that needs to be integrated in some way. Of course, Sun in Libra, all of this, like I said, is related to a form of balance in some way. Of course, now we have Venus in Sagittarius, so maybe there's expanding in these areas as well here. With this Sagittarian energy, we're expanding, we're wanting to maybe reach more of a positive equilibrium to whatever this is. But of course, this is a quincunx to this Neptune and Pisces energy. Of course, this can, the traditional ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, which is the ruler of Sagittarius. So we're kind of dealing with a lot of a Sagittarian, maybe expansive energy here. Maybe that's where we want to go in terms of this balance, but this quincunx is leading to something frustrating here. This Neptune is retrograde. There could be something that maybe is left unseen here, right? We're dealing with Pisces, we're dealing with the fog, that kind of stuff that maybe is unknown or not really quite as visible as it should be, right? But this is retrograde, so we're going over these old spaces here, and maybe there's something that's coming through or needs to be uncovered in some way, and that's giving a frustration, but that's regarding this balance that needs to occur, along with this expansion regarding that balance that needs to occur here. There's some kind of integration that needs to happen. Maybe there's something coming up that has been hidden. We're truly kind of beginning to see this kind of things, the deception that might exist in some way, and that could lead to a frustration or integration that needs to occur regarding this balance and kind of the expansion that needs to exist there, right? As well, the Sun is in sesqui-square here to Saturn, also in Pisces. And again, Saturn in Pisces to me is that dissolution of malefic energy. Pisces is a mutable water sign, which means it's changeable, right? Saturn is that structure. Of course, when we get into the realm of Pisces, we realize that structure doesn't actually exist. It's simply a creation, right? So when we get to this point and Saturn is also retrograde, there's something here regarding this dissolution of structure, something that needs to become more malleable, something that needs to change, something that's maybe been restrictive or something in this way that's trying to force this aspect of balance, right? So maybe we have been restricted in some way, but that's coming to the light, and somehow maybe that's what's frustrating to be integrated here. But with this sesqui-square, this is stuff that can't be swept under the rug any longer. It's like it's coming more and more into our awareness, especially here in Pisces, where it's that hidden stuff that's becoming more and more coming up, and it's forcing this aspect of balance and ultimately a positive expansion to begin to occur here. All right, we also have Mars here in biquintile to the South Node here in Libra. Okay, so again, these Libra things, the South Node here is getting rid of like aspects of codependency, relationships that are no longer working, all of those Libran related things. Of course, Venus rules Libra, Venus also rules Taurus. With Uranus here, of course, is dealing with aspects of change with Uranus retrograde. These are changes we know that we've needed to make, and shakeups that we know that we've needed to make already. So with the South Node here in Libra, there's something, especially when we're dealing with quintile and biquintile energy, this is that feminine energy, that creative energy, that hard work behind the scenes type of energy that's very creative in some way that's coming through here. Of course, Mars at 24 degrees of Cancer. I believe Mars is now in its shadow. Not 100% on that, but I know Mars will retrograde back into Cancer when it does go retrograde later this year. Okay, so which is actually coming up pretty soon. We're actually heading into a Mercury retrograde soon as well. The shadow period, I believe, I was looking last night, I believe it starts November 7th. So be aware of that. I think it goes retrograde, I forget the exact date. We can look that up later, or get it more when we get to that point. But yeah, anyways, Mars quintile this, so there's something, I feel like this is more of this feminine energy that's really coming through. If you watched last week's video, if you watched my videos regarding all this eclipse energy, there's something about this strong feminine energy that's coming through, that's bringing things back into balance between this Libra and this Aries type energy here. It's like that feminine aspect is getting its assertiveness back. The feminine aspect is learning to, come online a bit more after, when we consider the patriarchy on this planet, thousands of years of suppression, right? So, but it's coming into a state of balance. It's not swinging back into completely into the feminine direction. It's coming into a state of balance. Okay, I'm talking about this energetically. I say this every time. This is energetically. Of course, this can play out in the traditional way if that's the way that you do things. However, it doesn't matter who or what you are, what you express, what your sexual orientation is, what your gender identity is. Okay, we all have masculine and feminine energy within ourselves, within each other, that needs to be working in harmony together, because that's when it's working in its balanced state and at its best state. All right? And of course, you can have another gender identity other than what your physical gender is, but you still have that energy within you as well. Okay? There's no judgment here or anything like that. I just want to point this out so that people don't be like, well, Anyway, so that's that. That's kind of what I feel this is this feminine energy coming up and kind of ditching these old ways of being feminine was kind of what it was coming through. But aspects of like codependency, aspect of just being the doormat, aspect of all that stuff, there's something it's getting stronger here. Something's coming through in that sense that could very well relate to these aspects of balance and justice that need to occur here regarding what has been hidden, and dissolution of these old outdated forms of control and old outdated structures as well, or rules, or things that that have existed that need to transform and change. Remember, Saturn rules Capricorn, and Pluto is here at the end of Capricorn, now direct at the last kind of degree here, to really put the hammer in again on that final nail of the coffin to make sure it's gonna fucking stay there. All right, so that is Sunday. Let's move on to Monday here, the 21st. So on Monday, we're going to have Mercury here in Scorpio in biquintile to the North Node. It's also going to semi-sextile Black Moon Lilith and sesqui-square Neptune. All right, so we've had... Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Thought we had this... Oh, right, that was a quincunx to Neptune from the Sun. I'm like, we had a sesqui-square too, but that was the Sun sesqui-square Saturn. Okay, just trying to get my bearings here. All right. Remember what I did 5 minutes ago? Anyways, okay, let's take a look here. So Mercury in biquintile to the North Node. All right, so again, Mercury in Scorpio, biquintile to the North Node. There's a semi-sextile here to Black Moon Lilith, and this sesqui-square to Neptune. So with this biquintile to the North Node here, again, we're dealing with that feminine energy, that behind-the-scenes type energy. Mercury in Scorpio. Scorpio is a very powerful feminine sign, okay? But Scorpio especially Mercury in Scorpio, things may be more revealed in a communicative way or become more into our awareness, or there's a transformation of communication that's occurring. This can relate to those Virgoan themes as well, which can relate to day-to-day life, the nitpicky things, details, perfectionism, all of that kind of stuff. I feel like this is more of an awareness, more of a coming through, because Scorpio is all about transformation, bringing things to the surface in that way to be released, healed, ultimately transformed. And with Mercury here, it's that aspect of communication. And of course, I talked about Jupiter being in Mercury sign of Gemini down here, expanding this area as well. You can watch that. I believe that was in last week's video that I mentioned that. It's in one of my recent previous videos that I talked about this when Mercury was coming into Scorpio. So yeah, there's this movement towards this new direction, and this Aries, this Mars energy. I think this might relate more to what we looked at on Sunday with that Mars in quintile to the South Node now, and Mercury in biquintile to the North Node. So North Node ruled by Mars in Aries, and we're dealing with the kind of this feminine energy and this power, this transformative power. There could be communication or something coming through, or something happening behind the scenes that we become aware of, or we're working on aspects of communication. Sorry, I burped there, so maybe there's something relevant. Whenever I burp or something like that, is to pay attention to that. That's usually what that means. So there maybe is something coming through there regarding communication or awareness, regarding moving in towards a new direction, and it's in this aspect of assertiveness, ourselves, our identity, our independence, that kind of stuff. And I feel like this is relating a lot to maybe a feminine type of energy that's really strongly starting to come through here. We also have this semi-sextile here to Black Moon Lilith in Libra. So again, this Lilith energy, and Lilith is a very strong and outspoken feminine energy. She's actually really badass. If you watch my, it must have been a couple weeks ago around the eclipse time. I forget exactly which video that was. The Lilith energy definitely came through in that video. There was a lot of swearing in that video. It was really good. That was one of my favorite videos to record. So you can go back through my videos and check that out. I believe that was the eclipse video, but yeah. Anyways, so yeah, well, I believe it was that eclipse, that new moon eclipse in Libra, which was conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So yeah. Anyways, this is very strong, outspoken, feminine energy that's not going to put up with bullshit. I was also going to say not going to fuck with bullshit. Okay? So, and when Lilith knows that something is going on behind the scenes that isn't kosher, that isn't right, isn't the thing, she's going to say something. And with a semi-sextile here to Mercury in Scorpio, that something could be coming out. And this is relating to this power of whatever this is, behind the scenes work, this feminine energy really coming through, creative feminine energy, in order to move forward into this assertiveness direction is kind of what I feel like is coming through, to this assertiveness direction. All right, we also have Mercury in this sesqui-square to Neptune. I feel like there's something that's hidden here that really needs to come out in some way. There's something going on here about either defending ourselves, moving forward into this new space, regarding maybe what has been hidden that is coming up in some way. This is old stuff that's kind of in the fog that maybe more awareness needs to be brought to, or maybe we have known it intuitively or whatever else, and now it's really maybe coming up to the surface more in some way over whatever these old spaces are, over regarding what has been hidden. Right, and like I said, it's coming into our awareness here in some way. And remember, with a sesqui-square, it's something that can't be swept under the rug any longer. And something that I was just getting is that this is very psychic energy. So Scorpio, as well as Pisces, especially Scorpio, is very psychic because it's that time of the year where the veil is thinner. And when with Pisces, it's listening to your intuition to know what is going on behind the scenes, or being able to see through the fog, so to speak, in terms of Pisces, right? With the sesqui-square, this is really pushing this. So it's almost something is really coming through here that maybe has been hidden or coming into our awareness that we're becoming more and more aware of in some way regarding that. And I feel like it's related a lot to that feminine energy stepping up and coming through in that way as well. And that psychic energy, that intuitive energy is on the feminine side. It is a feminine energy, but like I said, masculine, feminine work in harmony together in balance as a whole, as two parts of the whole. Okay, so yeah, I think that's all I kind of want to say about Monday there, the 21st. Let's move on to the 22nd here. So on the 22nd, this is going to be kind of the big day where we're going to have the sun ingress into Scorpio, right? So we're now heading into Scorpio season. What I find interesting, and I was thinking about this before too, is the modern ruler of Scorpio here, Pluto, is at that 29 degrees of Capricorn, that last degree of Capricorn, and we'll never see this again in our entire lifetimes unless for some reason we live to be like 300 years old. Okay? But like, and you never know. We're heading into Pluto in Aquarius. Technology could advance to the state where you hop into a machine and bam, you're 25 again. Who knows? But anyway, what I find interesting about this is the fact that Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio, its last leg here in Capricorn at the 29 degrees is when we're going to have the sun in Scorpio through the Scorpio season, when we're going to have more stuff, in Scorpio throughout this time, right? So it's Scorpio season and that's kind of happening. So it's almost like strongly kind of really hitting that nail back in. If you looked at my videos way back at the beginning of this year, I said the first time Pluto moved into Aquarius for a longer stint was like that 29 degrees of Capricorn was that last nail in the coffin. When it retrograded back, it's like that nail's trying to weasel its way back up. It's like, no, goodbye, right? And this is dealing with old aspects of structure, control, all of those kinds of things here in Capricorn. The negative parts of those, it needs to be transformed and released so it can be pushed away. Of course, in this energy, we need to be careful because those that are not on the side of good may be trying to use this energy in order to gain back certain amounts of control, as well as Scorpio is also like raw power, and Pluto can give power to the sign that it's in, and they could be trying to take advantage of that. However, I don't really think they have much power left. Yeah. Anyways, as we can see with our world falling apart. Anyways, so sun comes into Scorpio. We're going to deal a lot more with this transformational stuff. And what I was getting at that in a positive way, in which how I really want to spin this, I don't really want to focus on anything negative at all. I'm just mentioning that as an awareness, but don't put your focus on that. So as a positive thing, this is really pushing this transformation and really making sure that nail stays in the coffin where it's meant to stay. The coffin of the old world, so we can move on to this liberation and expansion, just this change and awakening and shaking things up into something new, into something that's better, something that's more humanitarian, right? That's that Pluto and Aquarius vibe. All right, so sun in Scorpio, that aspect of transformation, and of course Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio, in the sign of Capricorn right now, and will stay there throughout this season. Like I said, this is really strongly dealing with these aspects of this transformation and really finally changing it and really making sure that final nail is in the coffin. So I think that's a kind of maybe a strong message that's really wanting to come through here. Also on this day, we're going to have Mercury in trine to Saturn. All right, this could be harsh communication coming through, but again, with this dissolution of this malefic energy regarding Saturn in Pisces, this could be stuff coming through that's dissolving these old structures. Again, like I said, with Pluto here in Capricorn especially, transforming this area, especially as we're going to have, sun coming into Scorpio, although that doesn't happen until 4:13 p.m. Central Time in Canada. Central Time US would be 5:13 p.m. I know, daylight savings, it's stupid. Anyways, so with this trine again, and dealing with these transformational things, so there could be stuff that's coming through that could be difficult. I know this is a trine, so ultimately it will be positive, but when you're dealing with energy like Scorpio, especially planets like Saturn, it can come off as like a hard lesson or a harsh kind of a thing. Even though it's the dissolution of this malefic energy, something may need to be exposed, especially since we're in Pisces, things that are hidden. And Mercury in Scorpio exposed that we may not like, but this trine is ultimately a positive thing because it's for our positive transformation and positive good in the dissolution of this old malefic energy. There's stuff that is likely happening and that was hidden in terms of aspects of control that, not really for our best interest. So even though it may be harsh coming out, this trine is ultimately a positive thing. And of course, in our personal lives, that can boil down to that as well, too. right? So this doesn't necessarily have to be a socio-economic or socio-political type of thing that exists in the world. And remember, I'm not necessarily saying that something specific is going to happen right on this day. Remember, astrology is the energetic blueprint. How we use this blueprint is up to us. And remember, through manifestation, if you're trying to manifest something, divine timing is a thing because it's going to wait till the energies are conducive for certain things to occur. However, there may be certain things or certain people that have a free will choice that want to use this energy in the opposite direction to try to thwart whatever that is. Okay? So just beware of that. This is the energetics of the natural cycles of the universe, right? It's like how you were born into this world. It's like you wanted to be the character. Your higher self chose the character that it wanted to play in this lifetime. And of course, to get to that point, you had to come in at a certain time where the energies were conducive to creating that. That's your astrology chart. That's why in those energies, you have used those for a specific purpose for you. Okay? So somebody else with a similar chart would be using those energies in a similar way, but specifically for them. They may have wanted the similar energetic themes, but are using different aspects of those themes to create their character in terms of you creating yours, right? And of course, it differs as well due to houses and aspects and all those things, okay? So, like I said, there's a hell of a lot more to astrology than just your sun sign or even your big three. Just focusing on that, you're just scratching the surface. That's such surface level stuff. You're not going to get anywhere with that. And go ahead and hate me for saying that. I really don't fucking give a shit, because that's what this is. As someone that has sat here and looked at charts and actually done this shit and looked at things, like, yeah, I know I'm fairly new on the scene, if you want to call it that, but I am well aware that there's a hell of a lot more to this shit than just your fucking sun sign. And to think, oh, well, I'm a Cancer, I'm not compatible with Capricorn, so I never look at that. That's just fucked up, and that's bullshit. Your opposite sign is what balances you out, number one. Number two, it's a hell of a lot more complicated than that, because you need to take into account that person's entire fucking chart, so their entire energy, and how that interacts with your entire energy. And your suns may not even be in exact opposition. You could be at opposite ends of the fucking sign. You could be in a completely different house. You could have sun in Cancer in the 10th house, and they could have sun in Cancer or sun in Capricorn in the 4th house, which gives almost the same, if not very similar types of energy. So how the hell do you know that? Right? So that's what I'm kind of... Anyways, I don't know why the hell I'm getting into this. Maybe it's like these hidden things that are trying to come up, or this Mercury and Scorpio is like, Mercury and Scorpio does not fuck with bullshit, okay? It's going to give it to you frank and be straightforward and be revealing of what is really actually there, instead of the controlling bullshit that is there. And there are people in, whether it's astrology community, spiritual community, whatever, that do try to manipulate people to their own advantage and not give a shit about others. So we need to kind of maybe focus on having integrity and understanding and telling people that there is a hell of a lot more to this than just your fucking sun. Okay? And there's charts of people where, yeah, their sun is in a certain sign, and the prominent energy in their chart has absolutely nothing to do with their sun sign. Okay? That is a possibility, and I have seen that before. All right? So don't think for a second that just because your sun is in a sign, that that's the be-all, end-all of who you are. That, not even close. Not even fucking close. Anyway. Also on this day, we're going to have the sun in square to Pluto. So again, there's a striking of balance here regarding these transformation in terms of these aspects of control. Of course, this is going to happen when the sun is at 29 degrees of Libra, and then the sun will move into Scorpio. Of course, the sun will still technically be in an out of sign square as it moves into Scorpio. And of course, there's 29 degrees as well as the 0 degrees of any sign are critical degrees. And the 29 degrees is this anaretic degree. It could feel like we got to do something needs to be done. It could just feel very intense. And since we're dealing with Pluto, there's an aspect of intensity. Sun moving into Scorpio, aspect of intensity. So there could be a very strong aspect of intensity that comes during this day. And of course, with Mercury and trine to Saturn, it's not really helping augment that very much. Okay, it's helping that bring on more of that intensity, I would say, especially with Saturn and stuff here, and what that communication or whatever could be surrounding whatever that is coming through, right? So again, Sun square Pluto, striking a balance with those Mercury aspects. There's something that could strike a balance that's regarding an aspect of communication or something coming through this day, something that needs to be brought to the surface ultimately to be transformed maybe in some way as well. We're also going to have Venus here in Sagittarius in sesqui-square to Chiron retrograde, okay, in Aries. So again, this is dealing with aspects, healing the wounds of assertiveness is something that's still coming through for this part. Of course, this deals with the aspect of self, our identity. With Venus in Sagittarius, she's wanting to expand here. And the ruler of Sagittarius, Jupiter, is in Gemini. Jupiter is also retrograde. So there could likely very well be communication really coming through in the sense on this day that could be triggering, but ultimately healing for a lot of people as whatever it is comes out in some way. So remember, like I said, this is what the energies are conducive to. How this comes out in the actual whole world or in your own life in whatever way is however way that's going to come through. And again, that's going to specifically for you. If you're interested in any of this, it needs to be specific, more for your own chart, specifically for yourself in that way, right? Where am I going with this? So how these energies, these transits are going to specifically affect you astrologically, you need to see specifically in your own chart. So you can take what I'm saying and apply it into your own chart through with these transits. I also offer transit reading as well if you are interested in that. Again, links in the description or in my bio on TikTok if that is something that does interest you. Right? Okay. Venus, though, is also going to be in trine to the North Node and sextile to the South Node. So again, I feel like there's a strong aspect of healing here with this sesqui-square or sesqui-quadrate. Trying to combine two different words here. Wasn't sure what to say. But again, this is something that can't be swept under the rug. This is known as a super square, basically. So this is really pushing for whatever this old shit is, where our wounds are in the sense that needs to be healed in terms of assertiveness, our sense of self, our identity, anger, whatever, regarding these Venus-related themes, relationships that could also relate to money, material things, how we make that in terms of our career. But I feel like a lot of it's this codependency stuff, since Venus is still ruling the South Node energy, where Libra is, sextiling that area and trining the North Node, wanting to move in a new direction here, or maybe we have that assertiveness where we can focus on ourselves and not be such a fucking doormat to everything else and learn to expand, especially in these Venus-related areas. And I was going to say, especially in terms of our relationships, we expand with the right people and not with the wrong people, and expand in new areas, maybe setting assertiveness or boundaries or whatever. Just looking here, there is a septile here to Pluto in Capricorn, so this could be transforming those aspects of restriction and maybe giving power to maybe even setting certain boundaries in some way there. But I feel like it's dissolving these aspects of structure, maybe through aspects of assertiveness or where we have been wounded in that way that is being healed in that sense. Of course, a septile is an aspect of fated energy coming through or coming from a higher plane of existence that is helping with this as well. But again, with this aspect to the nodes, we're wanting to expand and move in a new direction and release these old things and ultimately heal, right? Especially with the sesqui-square, it's really pushing for healing, and this could be somewhat triggering as well that happens on this day. So this could be a very triggering day, could be a very ultimately healing and transformative day that can occur here, especially with the sun moving into Scorpio. All right, let's move on to Wednesday here, the 23rd. Okay, Wednesday the 23rd, we're going to have Mercury here in biquintile to Jupiter. As well, we're going to have Uranus in quincunx to Juno. So again, with this Mercury in biquintile to Jupiter. So Jupiter is in Mercury's sign of Gemini, and Mercury's in Scorpio. With this biquintile, we're dealing, again, like I said, with this strong feminine energy. There's some creative stuff, behind the scenes stuff that is really coming through here surrounding expanding these aspects of communication, so they can be aware of this, especially stuff from the past that is coming up as Jupiter is retrograde, that needs to be communicated and let out in some way. So there's things that maybe have been hidden or need to be brought to the surface in some way. There's an expansion of communication here, or ultimately of awareness in some way. I say awareness because Mercury also rules Virgo, which could relate to details, the little things, day-to-day stuff, all of that. And Gemini with communication, the mind, all of that. It's like an awareness of those little things, bringing awareness to our own mind, awareness through communication, that type of thing. Awareness kind of encompasses both energies in a way in that sense. But we're dealing with a strong, creative, behind-the-scenes type energy. Maybe this is planning on communicating this, working behind the scenes, or this strong feminine energy really coming through in the moment at this time of what has been working behind the scenes and coming through here. Again, this strong feminine energy bringing a lot of this stuff up again. You can take that in whatever direction you want. We are in Scorpio season. Anyways... That may in fact relate, a stiff up may relate to Uranus here in quincunx to Juno regarding partnerships and relationships and change and shaking things up. Awakenings, revelations, getting crazy. Anyway, take that for what you will. Again, Juno here in Libra. Of course, Juno deals with contractual partnerships, which can be marriages, it can be business contracts, it can be any committed partnership or contract in that way as well. Of course, in Libra, we're dealing relationships, but it's also about balance and justice in that way. With this quincunx here to Uranus, there's a frustration here regarding these big aspects of change that need to occur, especially Uranus and Taurus. Taurus is very stubborn, maybe not wanting to change. Uranus is here as a cattle prod forcing change. Uranus is retrograde. This is dealing with old shit that we know that needs to change. Okay, and this quincunx here regarding these partnerships or whatever that is. So this is relating to some type of balance that needs to occur here. And maybe that's an aspect of karmic balance if we were talking about what I was talking about before. But anyway, this quincunx here, there's something that needs to be integrated or something frustrating that is coming through with energies that necessarily don't normally get along. However, these are both Venus-ruled signs. And Venus is in Sagittarius wanting to expand in certain ways regarding maybe changes that need to occur within these partnerships, changes that we know that we've needed to make based off of something that has either happened in the past or going over old ground in some way, or something that we've gone over before, or are just realizing now that, hey, I didn't quite notice this before. We've been there, but now I'm really noticing it more now, and this needs to change or be shaken up in some way to strike some type of balance or justice in that sense. I don't know why there was a sexual vibe coming through with that earlier, but I mean, I don't know. Take that for what you will. Maybe somebody needs to hear that. But again, this is regarding those aspects of, frustration here regarding those partnerships and aspects of change that need to occur. Of course, it can be with sexual relationships, it can be with any kind of relationship, it can be with business contracts, business partnerships, those types of things. And maybe there is a sexual aspect that's related there as well. I don't know. We're Sun and Scorpio. We got that going on. But ultimately, this is for transformation and those changes that do really need to occur there, regardless of what specifically is going on. All right? Okay, let's move on to Thursday the 24th, where we're going to have this last quarter moon here. Okay, this is going to be happening at 2:04 a.m. On my phone app, and 2:03:05 a.m. according to this chart. So roughly just after 2 a.m. Okay? Time zone things, they're complicated, Anyways, so what's interesting here is when I talked about the full moon in Aries, and with the T-square to Pluto, and that was conjunct Chiron, well, we have the sun here still in its out of sign square to Pluto, so still in square to Pluto after it's exact on the 29th, but we're at 1 degree here now, square the moon in Leo, in an out of sign opposition to this Pluto and Capricorn as well. So we have this T-square again, really. And if we look here, the moon is in a biseptile to Chiron. So it could be a fated aspect of healing or some type of higher realm poking through, or behind the scenes, what seems as faded stuff almost coming through here, surrounding maybe these wounds, and ultimately maybe what needs to come to the surface to be transformed and healed in some way. But again, there's this aspect of Pluto, this aspect of transformation and bringing to the surface that needs to occur here. And I feel more so, especially with Leo energy, Leo ruled by the sun is like bringing things to the light, right? Leo is, pay attention to this, bring things to the light. Leo, that aspect of expression, self-expression, bringing things into the light, in the spotlight. You know, when we think of Leos being that extravagant, on stage, center stage, it's about me, the actor, the actress vibe, right? The spotlight is on you. Well, with the sun in Scorpio and square to this, the spotlight's on something. It's on all the icky shit that's been hiding under the surface this whole fucking time, especially regarding aspects of control and old outdated structures, things that need to be transformed and changed in some way. With this opposition in this T-square, that is again occurring here. There's been a lot of grand crosses and T-squares that have occurred, at least since the eclipse. I talked about that all the way back then, but a lot of this stuff is still really strongly occurring here with these T-squares or grand crosses through all of these like major lunar like transits and aspects, full moons, quarter moons, new moons, right? That we're having all of these T-squares and things coming through. So there's something that's really pushing through here for transformation and change. Okay, the sun right here that's really poking at this T-square, really pushing for this transformation and change. Something that needs to come into the light to really truly be transformed in whatever way that this is, right? It's really peeking through here. Also on this day, we're going to have Mars in sextile to Uranus. So Mars in Cancer, sextile to Uranus. This is very nurturing energy, although in different ways. And again, this is bringing me to this feminine stuff. Taurus ruled by Venus, and Mars in Cancer ruled by the moon. But this is still very like feminine energy, and there's an opportunity here surrounding aspects of change, maybe some volatility that kind of comes out of nowhere, but I feel like maybe that's surrounding an aspect of, assertiveness that maybe needs to be healed regarding the septile here to Chiron. But again, there's a faded aspect coming through towards this healing, something maybe coming up to the surface or coming into the limelight or in the spotlight in some way surrounding that. Of course, Saturn's north node here at 0 degrees of Leo as well, with Saturn in Pisces, the dissolution of that malefic energy in retrograde, and the moon here. The moon can relate to hidden things as well, emotional things, the depth of that icky stuff. Scorpio relates to that as well here, so there's something, and with Saturn ruling Capricorn, with Pluto here involved in this T-square, there's something that's like restrictive or hidden or aspects of control. There's really something here that's coming up, and I feel like this is related to the feminine again in some way, in which this needs to come out in order to be stand up, to be transformed and released, and like that just seems to be the vibe that's coming through here with this stuff. All right, so that's Thursday. Let's move on to Friday here, where we're going to have Mercury in quintile to Pluto and Saturn quincunx Black Moon Lilith. Okay, so Mercury in quintile to Pluto. Again, we're dealing with that behind the scenes feminine type stuff, with this transformational stuff really trying to come through here. Again, this energy could be, the positive part of this energy could be thwarted, or this energy could be used in a negative way by those that don't want stuff to be revealed. Remember, and especially in Scorpio season where the veil is thin, they may be working with things that you don't want to come through or be working with at all. We need to be so kind of be aware of this, right, as a counter to what the positive stuff is trying to do. However, ultimately the positive part of this is awareness, and bringing to awareness what we need to transform and what needs to come out, okay? And this feminine energy is really gaining power here, I feel, to really push and transform in this way. And of course, with Saturn, if we go back there for a minute, we can still see Saturn is still in trine to Mercury, and now Saturn is peaking in this quincunx to Black Moon Lilith on this day where Mercury is in sextile to Pluto, really giving power, transformational power to Mercury, which is in Pluto's sign of Scorpio. And when we're dealing with Capricorn energy of maybe setting boundaries, transforming old aspects of structure of control or negative aspects of structure and control, where Saturn is ruling over that energy in Pisces, the dissolution of that malefic energy, that malleable energy, that mutable energy, that changeable energy that's wanting to change and shift these structures as well, with this quincunx to Black Moon Lilith, where we felt outcast in terms of codependency being put upon, a lack of justice, being out of balance, being used for our niceness, that type of stuff that exists there in Black Moon Lilith, where you feel outcast and all of a sudden that feminine energy is now strong there with Lilith. There's a frustration here that could be there's something that needs to be integrated of where we have felt outcast and what needs to be dissolved, what needs to be aware of, come through in some way. This is all, again, this feminine energy that's strongly kind of coming through for this transformation again. And this could be behind the scenes awareness too, but stuff behind the scenes maybe coming up as well with this Mercury and this quintile energy, okay? That's very putting in the work behind the scenes, strong creative energy that's coming through. So there could be a creative form of communication that comes through as well regarding the dissolution of this and this Black Moon Lilith type energy wanting to come through with this day to be integrated or healed in some way. And this can seem frustrating, especially, I would say, especially for those that were behind those negative aspects of control as this continues to dissolve. However, if you're controlling other people or are on the side of negative aspects of control, you deserve what's coming to you. I'm sorry. Right? You don't control other people. You don't manipulate other people. You don't put other people down. You don't treat them like shit. You don't treat them like doormats. So if you're that kind of person, fuck you. Honestly, I really don't care. That's the type of energy that needs to dissolve and what should be getting dissolved here. Okay, getting rid of psychopaths, getting rid of the psychopathic energy, getting rid of narcissism, getting rid of all that fucking bullshit. Right? That's what needs to get dissolved here. And that's what this feminine energy rising, getting rid of that negative, narcissistic aspect of the masculine energy that maybe has been in control for so long. Okay, but that's bringing that aspect to balance. Okay, and that's not saying all masculine energy is narcissistic or all no. Okay, that's not what I'm getting at. But there's good and bad to all things. Right? And it's striking that balance and getting rid of that negative aspect and striking that balance and bringing it back into balance with the positive aspect to the feminine and positive aspect to the masculine. Of course, with the feminine gaining her assertiveness back and the masculine standing up properly for what's right and not fighting for what's wrong. I'm just going to leave it at that for there. Okay, let's move on to Saturday here. So on this day, we're going to have the sun here now in Scorpio in biquintile to Neptune. So again, there's creative stuff happening. There's a strong feminine energy here, very strong, because we're dealing with sun in Scorpio now. Not just because the sun is in Scorpio, but because we're dealing with Scorpio energy in general here, regardless of what this planet is, or luminary in this case. With this biquintile to Neptune, again, this could be like psychic energy. We're dealing with behind the scenes type stuff, hidden type stuff, needs to be brought to the surface. But I feel like this is just very strong, flowing, feminine energy. Excuse me, that's the aware. Okay, pay attention to that. Very strong, feminine energy really coming through here. Sun still an out of sign square to Pluto as well. Pluto emphasizing this transformational aspect of Scorpio, especially since Pluto rules Scorpio. And it's in the sign of Capricorn. It's really giving, oh my God, really giving strong power to this. Pay attention to that. Of course, again, like I said, the people that are on the negative side of things could use this for aspects of control which we don't want. Right? So be aware. Focus on the positive. Focus on what you do want. Because with Scorpio as well, Scorpio is about desire. There's strong manifestation that can occur in Scorpio too. But Scorpio is about the desire. So there could be a desire for control here. So be very, very aware of that and don't let that happen. Remember, we're just trying to dissolve those things. This could be really behind the scenes stuff where maybe that desire of control begins to come out and we're beginning to see who is really behind that. Okay, and I'm being drawn to Pluto's North Node here at 22 degrees in Cancer, which is basically within 4 degree conjunction to Mars here in Cancer, which, like I was talking about, is that feminine emotional energy that's gaining power. And with the moon in Leo there, putting the spotlight on things. So yeah, let's just be kind of aware of that. And with Pluto and Capricorn transforming this stuff, definitely that part could really be coming through in that way. All right, so that's all I've got for this week. So again, it's kind of a continuation of that feminine power surging and coming through still, but I feel like there's still a transformations kind of coming to occur. We're in the Scorpio energy now. There's more of a communication of awareness that is coming through. A bit of a different vibe to the energy from what I feel. Scorpio energy can be quite intense, transformative kind of, but I feel like we're heading into this different space, and be wary of people trying to do bad things with this energy. But don't put your focus on that. Put your focus on what's good, because that's what we want to manifest and bring forth with this energy. Like I said, so astrology is the energetic blueprint. And of course, any future predictions that anyone does, whether it's tarot cards, psychic, astrology, whatever, remember, there's free will here in terms of utilizing these energies from whatever side that this is on. So any kind of prediction that is coming through is only from that vantage point in which it will become true if you're to continue on that trajectory with minimal change, right? But again, with free will, if somebody decides to come in with a wrecking ball and shift that into another direction, well, guess what? That's where it's going to go. Okay, so just be wary and mindful of that. However, the energetic themes are still going to be there, because that's what astrology is. So whatever that, if that wrecking ball were to come in, it would still exist within the energetic themes that are talked about here, regardless of whatever. So it would still be along the lines of these energetic themes that are coming through, is what I'm saying. Okay, I think I've said enough on that. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate all of you that do watch these videos, these videos. Hello, English. Nice to meet you. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great week. Yeah. If you've made it this far in the video, post a purple heart in the comments so I know you're a real one. And again, take care, everyone. Have a good week. Bye for now. Bye.